All that talk about saving your tears for the pillow, and she cries about this. Her hypocrisy on this show is insane. Welcome back to my series, Dance Mums Unedited. This is the show where I discuss production notes written by the actual producers of Dance Mums, and I talk about all the behind the scenes facts and information that we don't really get to see on the show. So these production notes were submitted to Reddit by a user called Kitty Hawk Criminal, and I have printed them off and annotated them so that we can discuss several of the really interesting behind the scenes facts and scenes that we wouldn't have otherwise. We're still back at the very beginning of the show, looking at season 1 episode 3. As always, there will be a link in the description box below to a PDF so you guys can read the notes for yourself, because there was more to this episode than the producers cared to show. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. The week begins once again with Abby alone in the studio filming Pyramid. She critiques each of the girls without them present. Then the mums and girls enter the studio. Abby has everyone clap for Chloe and gushes about Maddie winning her title and overall score. She also gets the group to clap for Mackenzie and Vivi's duet, but she warns Cathy to never change the choreography again. She is less impressed with the group though. Abby tells the girls that they need to be role models for Vivi, saying that they always win, but they didn't win last week. Maddie says it was because she was off with her timing, but Abby disagrees. Maddie has stated a lot recently that she felt a lot of pressure while on the show, and looking at the way she blames herself for the group losing really shows that she had a lot of that responsibility for this entire group of people on her shoulders, and she really shouldn't have had to. Abby talks about how the mums hated the costumes. Chloe had no idea that her mother had a problem with them. Vivi is visibly excited to get a solo, and to have the chance to work alone with Abby. Upstairs, Christi and Holly are offended that Abby insulted their parenting skills. They talk about Mackenzie being in the group dance this week, and Melissa actually thinks that she will be kicked out of the routine. Cathy asks the mums why they put up with Abby's criticism, and they tell her that Abby would spread nasty rumours and use her connections in the dance world to threaten them. Christi says that Abby has threatened her, saying that Chloe would never dance again. She has also seen girls disappear from dance because of Abby. Holly says that Nia hasn't gotten the same attention since she couldn't walk and was in a wheelchair. She says that none of this is worth it if Nia doesn't feel good about herself. Shortly after, Cathy freaks out over a stink bug, and Christi jokes that they're microphones for Abby to listen to them. That's a pretty good line, and I kind of wish it made it to the show. Then Melissa brings in a cake for Cathy's birthday. They joke about Clara wanting cake, and Christi shares that the first time that she came into the viewing room after having Clara, Abby told her to point her feet. Cathy asks about tuition payments, and Kelly shares that she's always accused of not paying her bill. Melissa says that she only charges late fees if Abby is watching because she doesn't like to do it. It's interesting that you can see several other kids not on the team rehearsing ups and downs with the group. Then all of a sudden the kids are wearing different outfits and the extra kids are gone. An even weirder continuity error is that you can see Mackenzie playing with Nia's brother Will upstairs. It's bizarre because Mackenzie was supposedly rehearsing the group dance at the time. Then the fight between Abby and Dawn erupts. Reagan hadn't followed Abby's dress code and was asked to change and didn't come back. During her fight with Dawn, Abby calls the police and explains everything to them. Dawn has claimed on Christi's podcast that Abby was really rude to Reagan that day, and she got a lot of phone calls telling her that Reagan was upset. Apparently, Abby told her that she was mentally slow and needed to go see a doctor. And since Reagan has a brother who's autistic and requires that kind of level of care, and she's had to visit the doctors with him, it really upset her. It wasn't just about being kicked out of class, although that was part of it. I explained the whole situation in a lot more depth during my Dance Mums Uncovered episode about times the police were called. Once the drama has passed, Holly remarks that leaving wouldn't be the worst thing for Reagan. Kelly wonders how she can get her girls up the pyramid. She says that she can't get privates for her kids, even with Gianna, and decides to talk to Abby about it. Kelly and Christi recently revealed in their podcast Back to the Bar that Melissa was in charge of scheduling privates, which we already knew, but they also claimed that Melissa would take privates away from their kids and give them to Maddie, even though Maddie practically had a private every day. And so this is why they were always complaining about it and blaming her for it. Abby tells Kelly that Brooke is too brooding and moody. She says that Kelly shouldn't let her change, and that it is a red flag to see a sudden change in a child. She says that Brooke should talk to her, and Kelly points out that even the parents are afraid to say something to her. Kelly says that she is keeping Brooke at the studio for 1 day a week so that she can decide for herself if she wants to continue. Abby talks about Paige, saying that she will blossom and become an amazing dancer someday. Kelly says that she thinks Maddie and Chloe will be burned out someday just like Brooke, and Abby tells her not to use that term. She thinks that a burnout is a girl who wears an army jacket and dark eyeliner. Abby walks into a class and asks the senior company if they heard Paige get corrections over the past few months. She tells them to raise their hands if they heard Paige's name more than their own. Lots of them raise their hands. Kelly points out that Paige has never gotten the confidence that the other girls have because she's not moved up. Kelly asks the kids to raise their hands if they've ever felt slighted. No one raises their hands, and Kelly laughs that they're all too afraid of Abby to say anything. The following day, Cathy and Vivi enter for Vivi's solo rehearsal, and Cathy invites Melissa to lunch. Abby tells her to bring back some leftovers. Within about 11 minutes, Vivi has learned her entire routine. Meanwhile at the restaurant, Cathy sits down and Melissa enters. This took 2 takes. Cathy and Melissa have actually talked about this day, saying that they remember walking in looking all shocked and amazed, and the producers thought it was way too over the top, so they had to film it again. When Cathy asks about Greg, the notes say it seems unnatural. Perhaps this is an indication that she was encouraged to talk about him in this scene, but couldn't do it in a convincing way. After hearing about the husbands of the other mums, Cathy talks to Melissa about her own husband, who works in insurance and was buying a beef jerky franchise. The episode must have excluded this part to make Cathy seem extra nosy. Melissa says that Maddie remembered her aunt's birthday, saying that she is so mature. She also says that Maddie is like an adult and like a mother, but she wishes that Maddie could just be a kid. This is something that Maddie has recognised and spoken about publicly on her podcast Take 20 with Kenzie, and she says that she really had to become sort of an adult figure in her sister's life, and she also had to grow up quite quickly, not just due to the show but also due to her upbringing, and so it's quite sad that she went through that, but it is good to see and hear that she is sort of processing that and healing from having to do that. Melissa holds her head in her hands, saying that she thinks she's going to jail. Well, that took a weird turn. The production notes don't go into any further detail, they don't provide any more context, so yeah, it's just a weird detail that really piques my curiosity, and it really stands out, but I guess we just don't know. Later that day at rehearsals, Brooke and Paige are nowhere to be found. Abby gives corrections, not acknowledging their absence. Meanwhile, Kelly picks up her daughters from 2 different schools. She tells them that they will have to do their homework while they eat dinner. When they get home, Brooke goes to her room and doesn't come back down. Kelly goes to check on her, and this is when Brooke tells her that she doesn't want to go. She says that she needs to do her homework on a laptop and that she can't do it because there is no internet at the studio. She wants to skip rehearsals, but Kelly says that the rest of the group is waiting for her. Brooke says that none of those people are her friends. You have to remember that this was the very beginning of the first season, and so Brooke was used to dancing with much older kids. Apparently she even danced with seniors at this time, and she was sort of forced back with her younger sister's age group, and Paige was the second oldest person on the team, so this must have all felt very unfair to her at the time. Kelly has recently pointed out that the reason why her family was so late that day was because the camera crew wanted to come over to her house. They wanted to film a scene where Brooke explains why she doesn't want to dance. So this entire sequence was somewhat staged, even though Brooke's feelings and reasons for not wanting to go were probably genuine. On the drive to the studio, Kelly asks Paige why she was moved to the back of the dance. Paige says that she forgot some steps because she didn't realise she was doing it wrong. Kelly tells her that she needs to do it right, otherwise Maddie and Chloe will always be in the front. Abby asks the girls where Brooke and Paige are, and says that she thinks they must have gotten out of school early to get their nails done. After the Hylands show up, the mums talk upstairs about Nia being upset because Maddie gave her corrections. Kelly brings up the discussion she had with Abby the previous day. She mentions that Abby suggested that maybe Brooke was on drugs. This is such a horrible thing to say, especially given that her only evidence is that Brooke doesn't love dance as much as she used to. You know, Abby just doesn't understand that people's passions can change, people's interests can change, and dance isn't the most important thing in the world. In the lobby, Abby is yelling into the phone. She is upset that her kids can't compete for nationals and that she isn't eligible for any money. She actually starts crying. All that talk about saving your tears for the pillow, and she cries about this. Her hypocrisy on this show is insane, even this early on. During the final day of rehearsal, Christi and Kelly head to a salon to get their lashes done. It took 4 takes of them entering the building before the producers were happy. They gossip about Melissa having an affair and how they found out about it. Then they talk about Brooke. Kelly wants Abby to trust her as the mum and to let Brooke take a break, giving her the chance to miss dance for a while. Christi says that she doesn't want to look back and regret pushing the kids. Sadly, this is something that she has expressed a lot of regret about during her time on the show. Christi and Kelly say that they can't imagine not watching their kids dance. Christi mentions that Kelly once threatened to poke Brooke's eye out if she didn't dance. I certainly hope that this was just a harmless joke. I mean, the fact that it has an LOL next to it seems to express that. Not long after this, Melissa goes to an embroidery shop to get the girls' names put on the back of their pink jumpsuits. Then the cameras go to Cathy's house. Cathy says that Vivi was crying about her solo that morning. Cathy asks if Vivi wants her to force her to do the dance, and Vivi says no. She thinks the solo is too fast and that she won't remember it. Vivi starts crying, saying that she liked doing duos better, and that she's afraid of forgetting it. Cathy doesn't think that she's ready, wishing Abby hadn't given her a solo yet. The next day, the team gets on the bus, minus Cathy and Vivi, who drive themselves. Brooke mentions that her hip hurts, and Abby says that she just needs to grind it down. Abby says that Kelly never danced hard enough to get an injury like this. On competition day, Cathy and Abby discuss changing Vivi's solo. Abby says that she paid $330 for Vivi's costume, but Cathy is not worried about the cost. So Abby wants to invoice her for the costume. Cathy talks to Abby in the hall, saying that she wants Vivi to feel like part of the team, but doesn't think that Vivi should have had a solo. Abby tells Cathy to come with her to watch Vivi's solo from the audience, but she insists on being backstage. During her Divisions Awards, Vivi is called out as a Little Miss Starbound finalist. They ask Vivi what her favourite dance move is, and she does a breakdance move. Vivi doesn't win the title, nor does she place, but she does win a High Gold Award. In the lobby, Abby tells Cathy that Maddie or Mackenzie could have won that competition. Cathy and Vivi head home early, and Abby tells the kids that Cathy does not support them. Abby tells Melissa to get Cathy's credit card and charge her for the entire year. Nia cries because she hurt her hand. Holly tells her to not cop an attitude because she hurt herself. This seems like a really harsh way to treat a child who's hurt, but I'm willing to bet that there was some extra context, like maybe Nia was running around and she was told to not do that anymore, and she ended up getting hurt, and the adults were like, well, you shouldn't have been doing what we told you not to do. Yeah, that happened to me a lot as a kid, so. Maddie and Chloe go to do their duet, Everlasting Friends. Abby kicks Paige and Nia out of the backstage area, telling the girls that if they can't come backstage without their friends, then they need to do a different activity. Maddie and Chloe win the Top Duet Award. The girls then get ready for and perform the group number. At the group awards, the girls win the Most Beautiful Movement Award, as well as first place. After awards, Abby gets the girls to pose for a picture in their final pose of the group dance. They also take a picture with the director of the competition. After a few on-the-fly interviews, the ALDC gets back on the bus and leaves the competition venue. And with that, we've come to the end of another episode of Dance Mums Unedited. I was quite surprised by how many scenes there were in this episode that just weren't included at all in the final cut. And so, yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed sort of getting that behind the scenes scoop. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!